And what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. If you guys haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification button if you haven't already so you get notified when a live stream pops or video drops. Today I have a very special guest on my channel. We didn't go live, but once again, SoxArizona is with me. He is a Boston Red Sox fan from Arizona. That's why his channel is of that name. The Yankees just got swept by the Red Sox, and I guess for opening arguments, or just opening talk, I should say, Sox, introduce yourself. With that, talk about how the Red Sox came into this series, and maybe just like a little bit of recap as we go game by game.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. First time on the channel. We wanted to do the game live, but we'll figure that out eventually. But coming off of that Astros series, the Red Sox are swinging hot bats. I mean, they only came into this game a game and a half behind Tampa Bay. And I know the Yankees are sitting at 6 games back, but the pitching has been surprisingly good this season for the Red Sox. I know the bullpen was one of the biggest issues coming in after last year, but a sweep here and Garrett Richards tonight. I mean, he got himself into some issues early, but I think a good job getting out of situations, and couldn't be happier with a 3-game sweep.
Especially if you're a divisional rival. I mean, that's
And
gotta
it
be
was
a
the
good
first.
feeling for you, not so much for me.
Yeah, absolutely. The first Yankees Red Sox series. I mean, I didn't expect the sweep going on the road in the first series, but I'm not sure when they come back. But we should definitely do those games for sure.
Well, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Hopefully, something happens with the Yankees by then. I'm not going to say whether the Red Sox will change or not, but obviously you guys are fighting with Tampa Bay for the top spot, as we
Yeah.
are still sitting in 4th place, at least to my knowledge, because Blue Jays are in front of us. Whether they won or lost, we are still, we lost tonight. So I actually didn't get a chance to watch the game on Friday, but what I did hear are a couple of things. Obviously, the leadoff home run by Rafael Devers. Michael King made a mistake, and obviously pitchers make mistakes, but from there, what I read, he was pretty consistent. Just after the fact, it was just that one mistake. Devers hit it in the right field seats, and then from there, the Yankees pretty much didn't do well. Something to note, they were 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, and other than Torres, Stanton, and Judge, everyone else had 2+ Ks, which once again contributes to the amount of offensive problems that this team has, and it's so frustrating because we talk about it, every recap, it seems like, whether it's a series win, a series sweep, or a series loss, you have to reflect on everything. And with that being said, it's getting so tiring to talk about, and I'm really feeling bad for the fans that have to listen to these content creators talk about the same nonsense series and series over. Yankees 6-9 hitters, 0 for 15 with 10 Ks. I mean, that's just not. And listen, I don't know what you've heard about the bottom of the lineups over like the rest of the American League and the major leagues in general. Oh my God, they're not hitting well. But Aaron Boone said that on like a radio show or something like that where he was being interviewed. And I'm saying this, why don't you just stand out and be the better team? Let's just say for some reason the major league average from hitter 6 to 9 is like, let's just say 200. And,
Yeah.
why don't you just go out there and be the different team? Be the team that says, okay, we're going to adjust our lineup, adjust the fundamentals. But Aaron Boone apparently is not interested in that. And Gary Sanchez struck out 4 times. I mean, I've been off the Gary Sanchez train for a while. Members of my channel, subscribers of my channel really know that best because I went on a rant basically saying after that one Tampa Bay game, which we won, by the way, that was, he's a mental errors machine, and he does not know how to get himself back into the game, and you ruin your team's morale that way. But what can you say for the Red Sox, that happened that game? On a good note, obviously, knowing that you guys won 5-2.
Well, I didn't get to see Friday's game, but I did notice obviously 7 runs from the Red Sox. Took them a while to score. Didn't score till the 6th inning, but 13 hits and all around. I mean, 7 through 9 had 4 hits in that game, and I believe the Red Sox bottom of the lineup has been one of the best in the MLB. But like you said, the bottom of lineups are not hitting well, and I noticed a couple teams in the American League have guys that aren't even hitting. They don't even have a 300 hitter in their whole lineup. You know what I mean? So it's tough. And luckily for us, Xander and JD have been hitting over 330 all season. But yeah, what was it? 5-3.
5-2 was the final score of game 1.
5-2 is the final score. So I think we were sitting a half a game behind Tampa Bay in that game. But every single game, very important on this. Like you said, I didn't get to watch the game on Friday, but Saturday and today, obviously, more eyes on those games as well.
Yeah, it's continued offensive struggles. The pitching, it's good, and then when the one run is given up, and I'm talking in the Yankees' perspective, of course, when one run is given up or two runs, the offense just exits out of the game. They don't know how to get their heads back in mentally. But for the Red Sox, obviously a good thing. The Yankees, and obviously once again coming into the series, I knew it was going to be a tough ball game because everybody was, coming out of the White Sox series with hype, and that's just being a fan, and I know that best. But, I said, okay, but we got the Blue Jays to face. We got the Red Sox to face. And I personally have been saying since the beginning of the year, the Blue Jays are going to be an underrated team, whether they win the division or not. But that young core of Vlad Guerrero, Kevin Biggio, all those guys on the roster, that's underrated. And their pitching is actually doing not that bad this season as well. I know that was one of their weak spots coming in with Hyun-Jin Ryu, seeing what Steven Matz would be like after being traded from the Mets. But once again, the Yankees, no offensive consistency, no fixing it. It's just the same old issues, and it's going to be repeated. And
what are your thoughts? I wanted to see a Yankees fan perspective. I mean, it seems like the offense doesn't want to use the whole field. It doesn't matter what count they're in. They want to hit the ball out of the ballpark, which I understand. But coming in this year with the news of the deadened baseballs, and it just seems like they don't have consistency. Why don't they shorten up their swings and try to use the whole field?
It's because their hitting coach, who almost got thrown out of tonight's game, didn't though. It was actually Carlos Mendoza.
Yeah.
He doesn't give fundamentals. He doesn't. This coaching staff, really, this philosophy of this team, has, you being a Giants fan, it's kind of flip-flop. Because the Giants have a hard philosophy with Joe Judge. Aaron Boone and the Yankees have a soft philosophy. And that's not really good for a team. And it's starting to expire. Whether we talk about, the Yankees have made the playoffs, 3 years in a row under Boone, 200 wins over 2 seasons. Everyone throws that out there, especially the Yankees broadcaster, in my personal opinion, who has his own show on ESPN 98.7. But my point is, it's expiring now. Can we find new ways to win? You're not going to have the same formula every year. Personally, in my opinion, I thought that the Rays were not going to be as good of a team. But look at the way that Rich Hill stepped up. He is like a Zach Greinke of left-handed pitchers over 40, throwing that off-speed stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he did against you guys, but the last couple of times in this year, Rich Hill has been good. But once again, it's always the home run ball. And if it's not the home run ball, it's very little offense. And that's just, it sickens me as a current baseball player, because there are other ways to score runs.
Absolutely.
But it's just going off the analytics, going what they say. And some of these lineup configurations are not very good. Rougned Odor batting second, it doesn't make any sense. And it's either, just like Aaron Hicks before he went on the IL for the rest of the season, it's going to be over-aggressive or just way too patient. That's why I like Chris Gittens, the guy they just called up, because you saw in those at-bats, whether they ended well or not, he was very patient. He wasn't swinging anything outside or doing anything, stuff like that. But, I want to see more out of him. He's going to struggle, but once again, it's all about fundamentals, and this team lacks that. And until they start doing that stuff or moving away from touching on the analytics so much, it's not going to change. And I think Yankee fans have to grasp that, and I know a lot of Yankee fans want Boone fired. I personally don't think that his first managerial job should have been in New York because of all the pressure, all the lights, and, with his sorry-ass answers, I have to put it that way, with his sorry-ass answers, you're not going to get anywhere. And if, whether you're sugarcoating it or you're lying, it's not going anywhere. That's pretty much what I have to say about that.
And what first caught my eye with Boone was when with Judge and Stanton injured at the same time earlier on in the year, it seemed like they were sitting Judge out every day and still giving the Yankees fans false optimism that he was going to be in the lineup every night, when it really just felt from the outside looking in that they were going to keep him out for as long as they possibly could.
Yeah, it's been weird because they've been doing that with Stanton the last few days. He just came off the IL, and I understand that he hasn't been hitting well, but give the man a couple at bats. He just got off. He didn't do any rehab assignments, so it's not like he went down to Scranton or any of the minor leagues. Yeah. They put him in tonight as a pinch hitter. I don't think he did well. I think he actually may have struck out. which actually is no surprise. That's Stanton for you. That's the contract the Yankees bought
Of
into.
course, yeah.
But once again, why not bat him? Why not try to make it better for him? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. With that being said, let's move on to Game 2, and I got a huge amount of notes because this happens to be one of the games that I actually watched to the full, thing. From the beginning to the end. My notes on it: Chris Gittens obviously called up. Me being a big fan of his, and I know a lot of Yankee fans jumped on that train when Mike Ford wasn't hitting well. With that being said, I was like watching him in the minor leagues, looking at his average, looking at the hits and stuff like that. A lot of people are doing advanced analytics on him. I'm like, you know what? Just stick to the fundamentals because that's what he sticks to. But he went 0 for 2 with a walk in his MLB debut. I can't really ask for, a home run and a triple because that's not him. You have to give him time. And he's not a prospect. So he's not highly regarded as somebody like Deivi Garcia or Esteban Florial. But with that being said, Urshela and Torres, they both didn't do well. I think they both struck out on changeups, low and away. That's no plate discipline right there or pitch recognition. Before Chris Gittens got up, and then despite 2-out rally efforts into the third with LeMahieu and Frazier singling, Stanton K's on 3 straight fastballs. Once again, that's what I was talking about. Resting him, not resting him, getting him the at bats. But once again, that's no plate discipline. That's no approach at all. With that being said, Glaber put the Yankees on the board with a 2-run homer. Brian Knight, the home plate umpire, was exhibiting a bit of a wide strike zone, but he was pretty balanced. Like, it wasn't today where it was Gabe Morales and he was like, oh, this pitch is a ball, but it's just slightly low. It was inconsistent. We'll obviously get to that a little bit more with Game 3, but Rafael Devers tied the game with a 2-run single. I feel like him or possibly Xander Bogaerts is going to be the Austin Meadows, which is going to be a Yankee killer, because Austin Meadows was really good the series before, and something I'm going to be looking out on definitely as a Yankee fan when we face the Rays in the future. I don't know how he does against you guys. The Red Sox took the lead with a RBI double, Marwin Gonzalez, then 5 hits in a row, 4 given up by Tyon. He didn't really have that bad of a start, but once again the run support wasn't great behind him. Loaizaga gave up 1 hit, but Tyon's thing was like giving up way too many hits. Glaber contributed again. Sac fly ties the game at 3, then an RBI double by Kike Hernandez. Christian Vasquez extends the lead with another double, then Bobby Dahlbeck pours it on with a 2-run shot. I was so mad at that. I'm like, we're out of the game for sure after that one. Then to finally put the whipped cream on the sundae and the cherry on top, the Yankees lose and they fall into 4th place. The bullpen doesn't really do that great of a job. Loaizaga, Krisky, and Peralta really doing the better ones, but Tyon and Green just not great starts, not great appearances by them. What do you have to say about the Red Sox in that aspect?
Well, I think, like you said, not much run support, only 6 hits for the Yankees, but the big thing for the Red Sox was every single starter had at least 1 base hit in the game yesterday. And like you said, Bobby Dahlbeck breaking it open there in the 8th inning. That was pretty much, I would say, the cherry on top for that game. But like we talked about earlier, the bottom of the lineup doing well for the Red Sox. You can throw Dahlbeck and Vasquez down there, and even Kike Hernandez hitting the 7th spot. He didn't do too well tonight. I think he went 0 for 4. But just the fact that the Red Sox offense is spreading out their hits and combining them together, they have been for the last couple weeks. It's been impressive, and you expect them to slow down at some point, but they really just haven't. 13 hits yesterday, yeah.
And it's pretty interesting because the 2 top teams in this division being the Red Sox and the Rays, I don't know where the Red Sox positionally do in terms of offense, but the Rays are like one of the worst offensive teams. But what gets them by is the situational hitting. And
correct,
I just find that really interesting. But that's a key part in baseball. That's something the Yankees can't do. Hence the 0 for 5, the 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. It's a whole mess. This team has to get somewhere quickly. And, we were looking at the Tigers series. Hey, we're going to sweep the Tigers. We're going to get 2 out of 3. No, we got swept by the Tigers. So now we go into Minnesota. It's going to be a whole different set of expectations. Can they at least win 1 game in Minnesota? They're a very bad team this year. Very bad team. But once again, we can't underestimate because upsets happen in terms of, sweeping, in terms of everything. And that's just not even baseball. That's all sports.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I noticed today the Yankees have only stolen 13 bases on the season,
That's
and it's
because they barely have any speed guys.
yeah,
Well, they actually have Tyler Wade, and you could use maybe Glaber to steal. But my point is that like they don't steal bases. Small ball doesn't exist.
yeah. And a lot of teams have been using small ball more this year. The ball's not flying as much this year. I've noticed people have been using the opposite field more and working counts more as well. I've noticed.
Yeah, and especially it could help because if you go into extra innings, you have the runner on second, whatever situation. So you bunt him over, and
Yep.
then you get a sac fly at least, and then you score the runner. It ties the game, does whatever, in your pending situation. I know the
Yep.
Yankees have been pretty bad in extra innings this year. I think if they're the home team, and I'm actually going back to the National Series, I think they only won one game this season in extra innings at home. Away is a
Okay.
different story. So once again, with this new rule, and I don't like it, but if, players and managers are not going to do anything about it, you have to stick by the rules, I guess.
Yeah.
So, in terms of this rule, it gives the advantage to the road team. And
I agree with you. I've always said that. Right when they introduced it, I'm like, the game of baseball is probably like one of the biggest momentum games there are. And you go into extra innings in a tie ball game, and all of a sudden the away team has a runner on second base, and they didn't even do anything to earn it. There's some momentum right there. They score a couple runs, and now all the momentum's on their side. And although the home team gets a runner on second base as well, I think it's just like tonight the Red Sox got two, and that's a big insurance run. One doesn't mean anything anymore.
no, it doesn't. And it's very slim to none. But let's talk about the most interesting game, I would say at least. The final game, the game which was tonight. Red Sox start out strong with a Verdugo home run against Domingo Germán. With the bases loaded, the Yankees took the lead with a two-run double from Gary Sanchez. Very rare that he actually produces on offense rather than the home run.
Yeah.
That being said, 2 on and 2 out. Chris Gittens strikes out looking. That's not really a form of situational hitting, obviously, looking at strike 3. And I'll give Gittens more leeway because he's coming up from the minor leagues and he's got a couple at bats to go, but that's just right down the middle. You can't look at it whether it's a fastball, it's a curveball, it's an off-speed pitch. For the second night in a row, a runner is cut down from left field going into second base. This tonight was Bogarts. I forget who it was last night, but just I guess good defensive execution. I'm not necessarily on board with Miguel Andujar being the left fielder. I think there's a lot more options in the minor leagues you explore, but I guess 2 nights in a row he's made some good plays, whether he's cutting it off or whether he's just throwing straight into second and getting the runner.
Yeah.
With that being said, moving on from there, Judge adds more with an RBI fielder's choice, 3-1 at that point. Then the killer. I was actually setting up my lights because I just purchased them from Amazon, and at that point I heard the TV and I'm like, are you kidding me? That was the Marwin Gonzalez home run. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So it was 3-3, and I like Lucas Ludge because a lot of people were very down on him in spring training. This guy, before the season, hasn't pitched since, 2015?
Yeah.
And that's a big jump to hurdle over. So other than that home run and a few mistakes this season, he's been very good. But going back to, I think it was the top of the 8th inning or the top of the 9th. I think it was the top of the 8th which you guys scored. The fielding error in right field, that's Clint Frazier's ball totally. That's the right fielder's ball. LeMahieu can't get every ball, and he reaches out, drops it. Runner goes to second. Then Bogarts breaks the tie. This isn't the first time he does this with the sac fly. At that point in the game, Glaber ties in the bottom of the 9th with an RBI double. We all know what happens. Going from there, Ruben Odor pinch hits for Chris Gittens, and what happens is outside, very outside, strike 3, not even borderline, on the white. Then what happens next? Runner on second. I forget who was up for you guys. The low pitch, just low, and it was low.
Bobby Dahlbeck.
It was just low, but what they were arguing is, hey, you're not calling it for these guys. Why are you calling it for us? And it's, if you're going to call a wide strike zone, at least start in the beginning of the game, not at the end of the game where it's just, a crucial moment in extra innings when it's very hard to get your team momentum. If especially you're coming out of an inning and you're not feeling good, it's once again, like you said, it's a very big momentum game. So from that point on, Carlos Mendoza and Phil Nevin were tossed from the game. Then from then on, Xander Bogaerts RBI double into the gap. That actually untied the game 6-4. Tyler Wade reaches on a miracle, which being an error, it was a throw to first base that was a little off. That being said, Tyler Wade
What a
went to
perfect
second.
place
DJ
for him to
LeMahieu
put that
grounded
ball.
out.
Go ahead.
All right. DJ LeMahieu grounded out, and that was pretty much the game. Herman didn't do that bad, but it just happened to be extra innings. Luis Cessa's in. He gives up the run, and that's pretty much the series. So I'll let my thoughts go, and then I'll obviously let your final thoughts go ahead. But in terms of this series, we could blame the umpires. We could say they had a wide strike zone, but it comes down to situational hitting at times, plate recognition, pitch recognition, plate discipline, approach at the plate. Same issues. We talk about it every time, us Yankee content creators. It has to get better. And what really pissed me off tonight, despite from the fact the umpires had a bad strike zone, was Boone sitting there like a stone. You have two of your coaches tossed, and you're not doing anything about it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It really doesn't. And you're just sitting there. Like, I understand, maybe, I don't know. I don't understand, actually, because I would be pretty pissed off if two of my coaches got tossed because of just bad, inconsistent calls, especially within the latter half of the game. But to pretty much finish it off on my thoughts before I hand it to you, inconsistent hitting, pitching is off at times, and the hitting doesn't back it up. That's pretty much what I have to say. It's the same type of shit that we talk about at the end of every series, especially losses.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even really think about the situational hitting for the Yankees, but it seems like it's just not there this season. But I think you guys are going to turn around. I think Yankees fans don't have it as bad as they think. They're only 6.5 games out of one of the best divisions in baseball. So it's a toss-up right now. And the Yankees, even though they have been hitting home runs for the last couple of years, their pitching's been shaky. They find their way into the playoffs more than they should, I feel like. But there's a long way to go. And for the Sox this series, just situational hitting, like you said, they've been doing a good job. The up and down the lineup, they've been spreading hits all over. And pitching they got themselves into some jams. But Garrett Richards was a good example tonight. I think there was a couple times we were shaking, the Yankees getting ready to blow this game wide open, but Valdez, another one with that comebacker double play. That was a big play as well. But we're going to back home now to face Houston for 3 games. So a couple stretch with the Yankees and the Astros, and we just got off a series with them. So some good stuff from the Red Sox. I'm happy to sweep the Yankees in the first round or in the first series of the season. And I appreciate you having me on today, and hopefully we can do some games later in the future, man.
2 things I'll say before we officially end this video is they picked the worst season to actually not do so good as a start because we don't have an expanded playoffs.
Right.
With that being said, I'm very impressed. The one comment I'll give the Red Sox is I'm very impressed with what they did with Garrett Richards, and they were explaining it on the ESPN broadcast of how they positioned something with his pitching in terms of the wind-up and then coming from the stretch or whatever. He's turned his career. If he can be consistent, he could be. I don't know how much longer he's got in his career. I remember he was with the Padres before that, the Angels for a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys did very well with him, and one thing I will say is, I don't root for rivals, but you guys are headed on a good path, and we'll see which rivalry has more fire. Whether it's going to be the Yankees and the Red Sox, or it's going to be the Yankees and the Rays, and both make very competitive rivalries. So, guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to SoxArizona, even if you're not a Red Sox fan or a Celtics fan or whatever. He's got great content coming out every week. With that being said, guys, for us Yankee fans, rough patch. Hopefully we get over it. If not, then something's going to have to happen. So with that being said, guys, peace out. See you later. Sox, thanks for coming on.